Welcome to this introductory video on how to use SOAPSTone to help students source documents. When analyzing historical texts, it is important for students not only to analyze the message, but also to understand where the words come from. In teaching historical thinking, students must be able to evaluate how certain factors impact point of view and ultimately the credibility of the source. SOAPSTone is a tool that assists students in completing this evaluation by having them look at speaker, occasion, audience, purpose, subject, and tone. When used repeatedly, students develop the habit of mind of evaluating historical work. Let's dissect the acronym and see how it works. The first S is for speaker. Students should be asked to identify the speaker of the source. However, identifying a name is not enough. Who implies more than just a name. Students should also be encouraged to consider a person's role or title, as well as demographic characteristics like gender, age, nationality, ethnic background, or any other trait that may influence their point of view. Let's look at a source and examine how this works. We will examine a speech given in the World War II era. On October 5th, 1938, Neville Chamberlain gave the speech you see here. Students are likely to write Neville Chamberlain as their answer to who is the speaker and move on. However, the process of historical understanding requires students to think about who Neville Chamberlain was. Identifying Chamberlain's position as Prime Minister helps us to understand his motives and purpose. Depending on the depth of study, students may even take this further by identifying Chamberlain's political beliefs. The O is for occasion. This means identifying the time and place. In the case of the Chamberlain example, the speech was given in Great Britain before the House of Commons on October 5th, 1938. Students must understand what is significant about the time and place. Students should recognize the date as one on the path to World War II. Ideally, students would realize the speech was given after the Munich Conference. The A is for audience. Who is being addressed? And how would this affect what the speaker may say and how they may say it? To develop historical understanding, students must go beyond just identifying the audience to look more deeply. For example, as Prime Minister, Chamberlain needed the support of the House of Commons to run the British government and to maintain his own position. The P is for purpose. Why is the speech given? Responding to this question requires students to consider some of the factors we've looked at previously, such as speaker, occasion, and also tone and context. In this case, Chamberlain was seeking to defend his actions and gain the support needed from the House of Commons. Ultimately, he was dependent upon them to maintain his own position. The S is for subject. What are the general topics and ideas of the source? What is the message? How do you know? Chamberlain is trying to persuade fellow members of Parliament that he has saved Great Britain from war. He says he has secured peace in our time. The last part of the acronym is tone. Tone is the attitude of the source. Students often find this part difficult. It may help to provide them examples of different tone words that they can use to associate with the writings they are studying. In this case, Chamberlain seems hopeful and relieved that war was avoided. He says, "As it turned out the other way, I think we have experienced something like a spiritual revival." With this statement, Chamberlain projects optimism and hope. In using this model, you can see how students have been guided to examine where a source comes from and its intent. They've been guided to look deeply at what each element might contribute to a source's underlying meanings and motives. In the next segment, we will examine the importance of using this strategy routinely and ways that it can be utilized in the classroom.